Well, a few years ago, I thought I was working hard. I thought I was disciplined. I thought I was doing everything necessary to build the life that I wanted for myself and for my family. But then I started tracking my actions. And what I discovered was it was kind of unsettling. The goals that I said were important to me weren't getting my best efforts. The relationships that I said I valued so much and treasured weren't getting my full attention. And honestly, like half the habits that I thought were moving me forward were often just distractions disguised as productivity to keep me busy. But the hardest lesson wasn't learning how to do more. It actually was learning how to stop lying to myself. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Lisa and I are going to be discussing one of the biggest obstacles in professional growth, and that is the gap between who we think we are and the actions that actually prove who we are. Because we're going to be talking about why most people romanticize their lives, how simple systems expose the truth, and why the data behind your habits and behaviors tells a far more honest story than your intentions ever will. But before we dive in, if you're a fan of honest conversations about success and transformation, and kind that aren't polished, that aren't comfortable, and they happen when nobody's watching, you're in the right place, because that's exactly what we do here at Individual Growth. We talk real people, real experiences, and of course, real growth. And lastly, before we get into it, please do us a favor. Hit the like and subscribe button by telling him everything is figure outable. And then hand it a piece of IKEA furniture with the instructions missing and wish it good luck. All right, with that, here we go. Good to see you, Lisa. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome, Nate. It is rocking and rolling this week, and I'm looking forward to this topic today. I think it'll
Yeah, well, I've
be
got a good
be
one. Yeah, this one actually came out of something that I was listening to from Alex Hermosi over the weekend. And Tim Ferriss has basically this line that I think caught on. I mean, definitely caught on with Alex. It caught on with a couple of other people, which is like the work has to be done. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing that, but the point behind it, and Alex does a big, long narrative on this, like he does, and it's all about like, well, the work still has to get done, no matter what excuse you actually have for yourself. And so, is the work actually getting done or not? And one of the things I wanted to talk through today, because this is actually the founding principle of habitual growth, which is like, are you as good as you say you think you are? Right? Are you really going to the gym? Are you getting your projects
Yep.
done? Or are we tending to romanticize life more than we should be, i.e., I'm tired. It's a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and I'm going to mail it in and just watch Netflix from 7:30 to 9 and then go to bed versus using that time effectively. Am I complaining about not having a relationship or being close to the ones I love, yet I'm never reaching out to them, right? And so today I really wanted to focus on the topic of using systems to really stop romanticizing life and getting real with yourself. Not only looking at the data, but really like drilling into having a psychological conversation with yourself of controlling that inner monologue, forcing yourself to do the things that you don't want to do, and making sure you are actually moving forward and you are using real data and real action to keep pushing yourself, keep challenging yourself, keep growing.
And it's funny. I was listening to Andy Frisella today. He had a recent episode with Tim Grover, and they were talking about how most people never even get to this point to realize that they might need to change. And I think that's where data is valuable. So most people never look in the mirror and say, why am I not where I want to be? And then what does the data actually show in terms of what I'm doing, the habits that I'm building, what I'm putting in my body, what I'm putting in my brain to understand what habits you need to change to create a different result than you have right now. And I think the systems that, of which habitual growth is one of them, provide that data to say, am I really doing the things that I say that I'm going to do in the way that I need to do them to change my current outlook and my current situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a stat out there that is basically like 30 to 50% of waking hours, like people just throughout the day tend to be daydreaming, right? And if you're in the entrepreneurship space, that's really hard. If you're working hard and hustling all the time, I feel like that might be a little bit excessive. But when you actually step back and look at things in real time, there is oftentimes a significant gap, not a small gap, a significant gap in your actual performance versus what you want to get done. And in fact, and the reason I wanted to bring this up is like I was thinking about this over the weekend and even early this week where I was doing things and I'm like, Well, I've actually just been scrolling on X for 15 minutes now. I'm like, I can use that time elsewhere, right? I'm, trying to change the channel on the TV or find the right movie instead of actually just putting on music and like doing a project. And it just hit me about even my time when I think I'm doing a lot and I'm trying to move a lot of things forward. There's so much excess time that we have that we sometimes don't use intentionally. And that doesn't mean you can't daydream. It doesn't mean you can't
Yeah,
relax
yeah.
and spend time where you need to, but it's meant to point out, are you actually doing the things that you need to be doing, or are you using that opportunity to procrastinate and push things to a little bit later down the road, the next day, the next couple of hours, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I'll go back and reference Andy's podcast because they talked about it there, which is so someone had written in and basically said every time something gets hard, I procrastinate or I put something in my mouth, whatever it gets uncomfortable, then I revert back to this comfort of trying to push off whatever is uncomfortable. And yes, you need the systems to point out maybe where that's happening to you, but the follow through of that is the cultivation of mental discipline and consistency in the right areas, which then will feed your systems to show you that you are actually making traction in the right ways. And I think to your point, no, you don't have to commit to never watching TV or never scrolling on social media as much as create an awareness of where you're actually doing things that you didn't realize and then deciding, do I wanna make a change in that? Do I wanna stop scrolling on X, every time that I sit down on the couch? Or am I committing to just putting my phone away because I'm actually gonna spend the first 45 minutes on the couch knocking out some emails, and then I'm gonna have time to relax. So it's taking an assessment of what you're doing to understand where you need to be more intentional if you feel like changes are warranted.
I hope it gets pushed towards the heart. So an example of that is like I have a goal to cold plunge at least once a week. And it's just because I have it here. I'm like, if I paid the money to do it, I'm gonna use it. Like, if not, like I should get rid of it. But every time I do it once a week, it's so hard for me.
It's
And
all
so I'm
right.
like, well, the only way to make it less hard is to actually do it a couple of times a week. So maybe I need to up that to 2 or 3 times and it'll get a little bit easier. It's kind of like working out or eating healthier, right? The hardest part is getting started. And then once you get started, right, it's how do you keep that momentum going? And so going back to kind of that opening quote that I had from Tim Ferriss, where it's like the work still has to get done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
When you have a list, like when you have a system like habitual growth and it's in your life and it's before I go to bed, I'm going to do these things. You and I know what it's like to be up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning trying to finish your list and then still have to get up at 6 o'clock to take care of kids or jump on that next phone call or whatever. And we know how hard that is, right? You're tired. You want to do something else. You want to be comfortable. You want to be in bed, and so you figure out, okay, well, let me use my system in the right way. Let me reallocate my time during the day to
Yeah.
be more effective, more efficient, more productive, like we talked about last time, so that we're not up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and running on a couple of hours of sleep. We're actually utilizing the time during the day, time blocking or whatever, to help us achieve more in the same amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the takeaway is what systems do people have in place that give them a sense of the reality versus the rosy colored version that we want to believe about ourselves? Because everybody wants to believe that we're not actually as bad as we could be. But more often than not, there's areas of improvement where we have kind of glossed over, said, it's okay. I'm doing all right in that area, but the data actually doesn't back that up.
Yeah, and glad you brought that up to bring in the romanticizing life piece. I think about this from a relationship perspective. I think it's one thing to say, am I making enough money on the professional side, but like maybe making it more personal for people. I make it a point to not have my phone around me when my kids are here because I don't want to be on my phone continuously, working while they're sitting around. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, long term, but like, I also want to be intentional with my time. I want to have that relationship. I want them to feel like they're respected. And so that means I've got to do the work outside of that. And so instead of saying, well, I have a relationship with my kids because, I'm on the couch and we're watching a movie together, but I'm on my phone and they're just zoned in on the TV. That's different than, hey, we're hanging out playing games together, right? Are you at the gym actually working out? Or are you watching YouTube videos and doing a set every 5 minutes, right? There's a big discrepancy in those. And that's the point of like, stop romanticizing life. Just because you're taking an action doesn't mean that action is actually intentional or even at the capacity that it should be to get you the results that you want to have.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's one of my biggest pet peeves when I see people at the gym and they're just scrolling on their phone. I'm like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, what sticks out the most to you in your own personal life? You're juggling a ton, right? You're always traveling. I know you use habitual growth, on a daily basis, but like, what are some of the things that you maybe mentally catch yourself doing that says, hey, I recognize this over here. It may not be a bigger issue, but it's something I can still improve upon.
Yeah, I think I get caught up sometimes in the social media scrolling where I'll, mean to get into bed. I'm gonna read my 10 pages and then suddenly a half an hour goes by and I'm like, oh, well, now it's bedtime. And sometimes I think that's all right. But when I'm trying to be intentional, but something else becomes a distraction and that gets slotted in its place, that's usually where I go, okay, this is an area that I need to focus a little bit more on because I'm doing something that I don't even realize, even though my intent was to do a completely different action. Also, you brought up the kids thing, being present. Yeah, I travel a lot. So when I'm home, I'm trying to make sure that I'm as intentional as possible. And, as sad as it sounds, I used to spend a lot of time watching shows or watching movies with my laptop open and calling it quality family time. And now it's phones down, computers down. If I'm going to be doing that, then it's doing it together. And I ask the same of every other family member. So it's choosing the little moments that really are going to matter and trying to be intentional about what I feel coming out of it and what the other individuals will feel going out of it. So if the intent at that time is to grow together or to experience something together, the best way to do that is to both be physically and mentally present.
Mhm, mhm. That's great. That's great. That's a good little teaser. I'll get to that in one second. But, I think, audience, one, thank you for joining us. But two, hopefully this helps because systems are so important in the aspect of being able to track your actions. And, there's a lot of things out there. You can go as micro as you really want. Track, every 15 minutes is one of the things that sometimes you hear. What are you doing every 15 minutes? Just write it down.
Oh my gosh.
I've never done that. I can't do that. I would never
Nope,
be able
can't
to
do it.
stand do that. But I will say I have become addicted now to having kind of weekly grounding sessions where at the end of every week I look back and I say, how many days did I actually conquer? Like, did I conquer my day 7 days, 5 days, 4 days? It's actually why we have a lot of the progress stats that we do in the app. I think it's extremely important because then it'll tell you, okay, well, you missed 3 days out of the week. Yes, there's an area for improvement there, but then the next question becomes why? Did I spend my time ineffectively? Did I put something on my list that was too ambitious or too big? Or was it because I was relying on somebody else? Or was it because I have colored glasses on and I was romanticizing life and I just quite frankly didn't get my stuff down? And that's where a lot of what we talk about, the identity, the accountability, the discipline, all those things that may not be fun terms really come together in a cohesive manner to say, okay, now you are this person. Now you actually are driving change in your own life because you have the data, you have a system that you can show for it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I actually really like that idea of checking back. I will periodically like scroll through and see where I haven't conquered the day, you know, on a week basis and then go, oh, what was happening that day? Why didn't I make it? And for the most part, there's a good reason, flight delay or something that else that came up that I wasn't able to necessarily prioritize that was out of my control. But I think it's a good visual to just scroll through the app to go, oh, all right, I conquered most of the days, or oh crap, I didn't, or which days, within the progress screens am I really having the hardest time getting to the finish line? And what do I need to do differently in the structure of those days so that I become more successful in completing everything that I set out to do?
Yeah, I love that. Well, let's wrap it up here. Next session, we're gonna have a really good one. So, audience, hopefully this helps. If it does, let us know like how your systems are helping you. Maybe where there's some gaps. Obviously, we're here to help you along your journey as well. But tune into the next session because we are going to be talking about the 6 habits. Lisa doesn't know this, but we're going to be talking about the six
I
habits
was like, oh, what are we
that
talking
we
about?
feel like have changed our lives the most. It may work for you, it may not, but I'm interested to hear what Lisa has to say because I've already got my list ready to go. And I'm excited to
Perfect.
dive into that. So, with that, we'll wrap it up there. Lisa, thank you so much. Good to see you and good luck with the travels.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, Nate. Good to see
Yeah.
you.